Ali Williams, welcome to Between Two Beers.
Cheers, boys. Thank you for having me. Been a long time coming, actually.
Yeah, very excited to have you in here this morning. You have a little situation with a dog poo? On the way?
Look, me and dogs historically haven't really got on.
Yeah.
I got scared as a young kid walking down the street, and this dog jumped out at me, and the look on my dad's face when I got really scared, and I've always been sort of a bit gun shy of them, but now I've got two dogs. So I've had sort of four dogs in my life. None of them are over my knees, so they're all little dogs. These ones are slightly bigger, and the youngest one, Ziggy, he got a bit wild this morning. Everyone had left the house, and so there I sort of was facing it by myself, and it's not nice. It's ugly. The house just doesn't look good, and you know the complications of when your partner, wife to be, walks back into your house, and you're like, it's not actually worth it.
Yeah.
Like, just spend the time, ring these lads, say I'll be 10 minutes late, boys, but I'm sure you'll understand.
The house is going to be amazing.
It is,
Yeah,
It is,
it's important.
It is.
Super excited to have you on today. Normally with a guest like you, with a profile like yours, there's a ton of podcast interviews to listen to for our research, but not the case with you. There's not a lot out there. I think there was one long-form sit-down we listened to with Max Key, but other than that, has that been a conscious decision to not do this sort of thing?
Yeah, potentially. I think during my career, I sort of grew up in the media from sort of that 18 or a bit later, 19 to 30, late 30s. And then I sort of suppose I needed to figure out how I'm going to, one, help myself, to then two, help my kids. And that's sort of why I sort of went down the media track when I started and finished rugby. And then I was like, this is probably not me long term. It didn't probably fill the buckets that I needed to be and life's enjoyments and things. So yeah, consciously I haven't really done a lot. Not to say that I don't openly just talk about things, but it's easier not to, if you know what I mean. But yeah, look, podcasts, they evolve, things happen, don't they? I mean, it's one of those things. You think anyone could do it, but it's hard, as you boys would know, right? It's hard. I thought, sheesh, I reckon I could do a podcast. And then I realized it actually takes research and work and effort and things like that. And I was like, people don't actually want to talk to me. And then I'll think it's about myself, but it's probably not. It's about my guest. And then I can. So yeah, well done on your success, lads, with this thing. It's pretty big. Self-confession, I've never actually listened to one. But I hear wonderful things. People have recommended me listening to them.
Oh, awesome.
That's good.
The hardest thing about podcasts is the weeks keep coming. You know, if you're going to do a weekly, you've just got to keep going.
Yeah.
The wheel keeps turning. And
finding those people that are interesting sometimes. Imagine, like, the bit that I would struggle with is you're jumping onto this, where we're at now, like the table, the chair, and you got the person next to you and you two are sitting there with energy and you're like, oh, got this one wrong. Like, you know what I mean? People got to give something. Like, life at the moment to me is about being your true self, being a character, and not forced character, but being natural. And I feel like everyone at the moment is under the pump to be someone that they believe they should be rather than be someone that they are, and in that aspect, I mean, like, we've all got flaws. Like, I don't care who you are, we've all got flaws. Walk towards those flaws, right? We've all got positive things we're good at. Walk towards them. And in between, there'll be things that we're pretty average with, or we're just average. That's not a bad thing. In my eyes, like, it's not a bad thing. So figuring out who you want to be and being that person, I reckon, is one of the true challenges of life at the moment, and especially with social media and all these sorts of things that, perception is probably not reality. Where perception used to be reality, and I think that's a challenge that we're all facing, right? Especially in this difficult time for all of us.
Shit! I'm glad you've not done a lot of podcasts, because already in the first exchanges, this is going to be good. Because you talk about that perception and reality, and I think a lot of people will have a perception of Ali Williams. Ali Williams. Ali?
Ali.
Yeah, like Alexander.
Yeah,
Ali Williams.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think they do. I think you'll find that I'm probably quite different from that person, but then very much that person that you believe, but in a different drive. You know what I mean? I don't know if that sounded right, but in the reality of who I actually am, I am that person, but my drive to be someone is not for the attention or all that sort of stuff. It's just being my true self.
Yeah.
And Steve Hansen used to say to me, mate, perception is reality, Ellie. And, a lot of people out there perceive you as a dick, so you must be a dick. I'm like, but I'm not. And you know I'm not. And he's like, we need to work on the perception then, don't we, boy?
Yeah.
So, he did drive that for me for a long time in my rugby career. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
It's part of our process as we talk to a lot of people that know you well, and to a man or a woman, they've all said exactly that. Like you're like such a great guy, so well liked off the field, and it's weird that there was this sort of public perception of perhaps you being difficult or whatever when you that's not who you are.
Yeah. I suppose I just am who I am, and with that comes my flaws. And I don't hide those flaws, but genuinely I strive to be a good human. Not saying that I've been a great human all my life, and I've made massive mistakes, as a lot of us know. But I do genuinely believe that the value of being a good human, being loyal to your friends, those types of things, putting yourself second, putting your friends first when required, and reaching out if you can. And it doesn't, as I said to a guy the other day, I was just, mate, even if my time with you is 5 minutes talking about it, let's talk about it, and whether I am with you for your whole ride or whether I'm with you for just this 5 minutes, let's, flesh it out and see how I can help and what I can do. Because I do believe we need to help each other. Like I do strongly believe that taking on challenges by yourself is, one, it's hard, but one, it's boring. And then secondly, what's the end goal? You can't look at a mate and go, how good was that? Like you two boys doing this together. Imagine one of you did it by yourself.
Yeah.
Maybe boring, it'd be tedious, but you'd have real good success. You might have earned more money. But what's the celebration to? That's the hard part. What I'm doing at the moment, I've got, a group of 3 of us, and love it. The success that you get and the hardship shared between people is better than an individual flying the flag going, I'm a legend.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think about that all the time, how lucky we are to be on this journey together.
Yeah.
So we did a talk to the Chiefs this week, me and Shay presenting to the Chiefs on our journey, and I'm choking up in front of them because I'm reflecting on sort of how far we've come and some of the struggles we've been through, and like what an incredible thing to be doing with your mate, talking to a group like that.
Yeah.
You if you're doing it by yourself, it would be a lonely path. But
It would be,
yeah.
But also the respect that you get by doing it with each other, the respect, the challenges, and life is good, team. Just the way we look at it, right? Just the way we look at it.
It's a nice one to lead into where I wanted to start, which is family, because I run a 4-kid under 7 operation. But you've gone one bigger.
Like
You've got 5.
Yeah.
And I was hoping we could sort of trade some dad hacks and some life hacks.
Full disclosure, I've got 0. Just so you know. So I'm a spectator on the sidelines of how this.
Okay.
How
Will
this...
you come in with your viewpoints?
Yeah,
I think
totally.
they're still valued.
Well,
we won't listen to them.
Yeah,
but I think they're
well,
still valued.
I'm just keen to understand how the nuts and bolts work.
I don't think anyone can explain it, mate.
You're a modern
what
day.
are the ages?
Yeah.
First of all,
So you're a modern day Brady Bunch, right?
Yeah,
blended.
we're blended.
Blended.
Yeah, we've combined forces, 2 from my side and 3 from Anna's side, and we're oldest is 12, Kalani boy, and then loves his football, and then we've got 2 girls. One just turned 11, the other one turns 11 next month, and that's Jessica and Miley, and then we've got Claudia, who's 7, and then we have Kaleo, who he's just turned 7 as well. So they're best mates. The girls are best mates, and the big guy at the top, Kalani, is he's the chief.
He's leading
the
the line.
boss, mate.
Leading the line.
do you feel like you're out of the woods a little bit? Like they seem like they're at an age where they're a bit of independence all around?
They can put me to bed. They can. Ironically, we've got to that time where it's reading time, so we have to read. And I think one of my big regrets. Oh, I've got a lot of regrets in life, actually. How do you say one of my big ones when you're like, I've got heaps of them. I don't read enough.
You personally?
Yeah, I don't educate myself in a way that I think I can offer more in conversation, which really frustrates me now that I'm getting older and I can't actually run or show off by lifting weights, or my jokes aren't even getting any better. So that education piece, and it comes from reading and retaining information and sourcing it, and it's probably an area that I haven't really pushed myself. But now with the kids and reading, I'm sitting there going, come on, half an hour reading, let's read, blah, blah, blah. And then hey, let me read. And so I'll read a little bit. And then they're at the, Dad, that's not that word. And I'm like, mate, you're 10.
Yeah.
I'm 42. I know how to read. You don't know how to read. So the challenges of being dyslexic have sort of raised their head. And I'm like, oh. Yeah. And you sort of just got to walk towards it. And you're like, well done. You guys are doing really well and reading. So I love being a dad. Absolutely love it. I think I get more joy out of that than anything I've achieved in my life. And that's not to say I want to achieve a lot more, but the rewards and the challenges that you face daily around how do you communicate with them, how do you listen to them? Because I don't think as a society, or as a whatever, we don't listen enough. We chuck information on people, but we don't listen enough individually. And I think, as a parent, that's the biggest challenge that you face, is how do you listen to how they're trying to communicate and communicate with them? Because kids are so much smarter than we think. Like, honestly, you just don't give them enough credit. So that challenge of being a dad is just, I love it daily. I love it. I do make mistakes every now and then. Don't deal with it in the way that I'd like to, but they can teach me and I can teach them. And parenting with Anna is something really, really special. And, the ex Casey, we value more than anything the value of being good parents and having alignment on where we're going to go and how we're going to help them, in a way that there's a discipline and there's a structure, but also how we're going to help them in a way that they can explore and enable all their capabilities. And you go through those different waves of parenting. So yeah.
One of the questions I had is, with you and Anna, and I don't know anything about your home life, but it would appear from the outside that you've kind of got anything you want. So how do you instill or bring sort of adversity to your kids' upbringing so they have challenges?
Yeah. Look, you can't help but talk about that, right? And with respect, Anna and I actually confronted that pre-relationship and said, we talked about, hey, bringing my kids into your mass success is going to make things hard for us, but going to make things easier in a lot of ways. And she, her big thing was to me is, how do we keep them at that level? Because her upbringing was very similar to ours. Didn't have a lot, but worked hard and had parents that really, really cared and tried to do everything to enable us. So, where you say we can have everything, yes, I think you're lucky, and you've got to accept that we can have a lot of things, but challenges like putting your dishes back in the dishwasher, cleaning them, little habits like that, hanging up your towel. You walked into a place, you made it messy. Why don't you walk out of a place better than what you found it? And little habits like that we drive, and it's not the easier way, walking into places with 5 kids, and sometimes it's easier to not walk into the place, let them go and play in the park, walk them in, make them introduce themselves, make them hold a conversation with people, then go and have their space, then come and sit with us, and really, really challenge that fact that as a parent, you can't just take the easy road by giving them the device or that thing. You've got to walk towards the harder roads, because it will benefit them later in life, and then they won't become what's the word? They won't stay your kids. They will become your mates, your what's the word? Like walking toward. They'll become like your team, if you know what I mean. And there won't that superiority will change. And to do the hard work now, we believe is where the true value is. And they've got to hold us accountable. We've got to hold them accountable. And even at an age of 7, they can do that. Dad, come on, you said that we were going to go and do this. When I'm sitting on the couch, go and do it. We're building a house at the moment. Get them out on site. We're not just going to watch these builders do it. We've got to do it. I need 2 hours. We've got to sweep this place. Yeah, but you don't have to. The builders do it. No. It's your house. It's your. You got to put your love into this. You got to put your energy into it, and the rewards will come later when you're living in it. And it's little things like that we really, really challenge. We all jump into the van and drive off into the sunset and do things.
I did want to know if there was a sliding door vehicle in operation with that many. Yeah, there has to be, right?
12-seater.
Yeah.
Shit. We have been a little lavish, and we've got LED lights in it, only because we're a high energy group of creatures. And mate, turn that music on, and we're into it. We're singing songs and all that sort of stuff.
Just looping back, it's an incredibly perceptive conversation to have with a new partner.
Yeah.
It's beyond what's your favorite color, what's your favorite food. It's
Correct.
like what does this look like?
Yeah.
Moving forward.
Yeah.
How soon into kind of the relationship did you start having those big conversations?
It was quite quickly. I think both of us are sort of quite gung ho in terms of you just knew that there was something special in the air between the two of us, and so you had to walk straight into it and say, hey, mate, these are my reservations, and what are your reservations? And the perception is not the reality. And I truly get this in this relationship, because people can perceive whatever they want to perceive on both sides. But her and I know the value of us being together. She makes me a far better human being. And I believe strongly, and I know that she believes that I make her a better human being, and that is the value of a relationship, right? We can challenge each other, we can talk quite openly and candidly about things, both parenting and all that sort of stuff. And you're best to take that on in that first little foray of whatever you want to call that part of a relationship, because then and when you've got 5 kids between us, it's their lives you're mucking around with. So we wanted to address that. We wanted to accept where's your alignment, where's my alignment, does it match? If it matches, this is amazing. If it doesn't match, maybe this is just so it aligned, and I'm the luckiest man in the world, and I'll say it louder, but she's the luckiest woman in the world as well.
So we've gone to Anna for a few notes on you, which has been really good. She's given us a few bits and pieces. I'm going to read what she said about your parenting. She said, I've never met someone with more always-on energy, always there for a laugh at his own or others' expense. He's an exceptional dad, but he's still navigating the wonderful world.
I love you tripped over that word. The word is albeit, and he was practicing it beforehand. And he goes, I don't even know what the fuck he said.
I didn't know it was albeit or albeit.
So good.
You've ruined my flow.
Sorry, I couldn't help.
He's an exceptional dad, albeit still navigating the wonderful world of preteen girls.
Oh yeah, man, what a challenge.
Yeah, that's a different challenge, right?
Big challenge, because I'm quite bleh.
Can I ask a genuine question? Because
You're telling me none of this thing is genuine.
No. No, well, it might be. You might think it's veiled humor, but I actually am. I am a stepdad to cool. When I first met Paris, she was 9. Yeah. She's now 25. Epic. So been in her life for that period. For the 10 to whenever she got her period.
You are a dad then. Why did you not say at the start? I'm going to correct you on that and bonk you on the head.
You should do.
Because I don't think it matters how the little creature,
100%.
Small, round, skinny, whatever the creature is, kid, comes into your life. You've got 2 options. You either call it yours and brace it like it's yours, or it's the other way. And we're the luckiest humans in the world to have the opportunity to, part our ways on kids that aren't biologically ours. And mate, I've got 2 boys. I wouldn't have had 2 boys without, Kalani and Kaleo and Miley. I'm just so lucky to have these kids. So I think you should.
You're 100% right, because I actually spoke to her this week.
We can edit this.
No,
Sorry,
no.
Paris,
No, leave it in for Paris, because we spoke about it. I talked about, we had Guy Montgomery and he talked about stepdadding, and I was like, fuck, it's awesome that you are flying the flag for stepdads, because it's a hard
I don't
role.
call it stepdad.
Yeah, okay.
I'm a dad.
Yeah.
And this is, it's probably quite, I don't know whether it's private, it's not private, I don't know. But Anna rang my ex, the girl's mum, and said, look, hey, let's walk towards this. How do we want to parent? And I mean, that is unbelievable, right? And, we all, from that moment, we were like, right, we are doing this together, whether you like it or whether you don't like it. Put your indifferences aside. Put the failed relationship aside. That wasn't on the kids. Walk towards parenting, and so that word "step" is it's just a cliche word that we to say they're not, but they're yours, man.
Yeah,
you give it everything.
And but in it, I was like, I had a stepdaughter, and then I was like, fuck, no, I don't. I still have one, and she listened to it, and she was like, what do you mean? Like, rang me and spoke about it, and I was like, I guess I thought, because you're 25 now, almost like what you're saying, that hierarchy is shifted to being alongside each other.
Yeah.
But this is long-winded point was from ages like 9 to when she got her period, I was terrified of being home alone for that moment and having to be like, okay, I don't really know what to do here.
I don't think we ever know what to do.
Yeah, but
I don't even think they know what to do.
Well, they probably don't at that stage. But is that a fear that you hold? Is it something that's even, have I planted something in your head that wasn't there ever before now?
No.
Okay.
No. I don't think, a fear to me is fear of heights, a fear of snakes, a fear of a dog biting you, a fear of hot food. But a fear of embracing someone indifferences is not a fear. That's a challenge. Like, that's an exciting opportunity to better yourself and better them. So I don't look at that as a fear. Do I know how to deal with it, and do I have the answers? No. Will I deal with it properly and how it's meant to be done? No. Is there the right way to do it? No. So will I get a tick at the end? Yes. Well, hopefully I'll get a tick at the end. But yeah.
Last one on Anna and family. Set to get married in Fiji later this year. Mm-hmm. How hands-on in the prep are you in this one?
Look, I think...
Because you're on the digger on the building site for the house. Are you on the digger on the building site for the wedding?
I would be if I could, trust me. Look, I think Anna is one of those superhumans. And superhuman, I mean, she needs to be across everything and organise everything and know everything that's going on. And I have my 5 cents, and I put it into the machine, and I say, hey, look, what about this? And I will say, I prefer chocolate cake over this cake. But at the end of the day, she is 100% over this wedding, and I am... I'll be there on the day. I'll look how she wants me to look. I'll look pretty good. But the day-to-day running, I'm over and I sit in the conversations, but she's the one that makes
I've walked that path. I've walked that path.
Yeah, she's the one that
top
makes
level. You get a top level summary.
Top level, yeah. But we do, it's quite funny.
Give me the headlines.
I will say, well, what about that? And she'll be like, oh, that's a minor detail. I said, but it's an important detail. And we'll clarify those sorts of things. But at the end of the day, look, it is our second time round. It's about the uniting of, these 5 kids and Anna and I, and it's a celebration rather than your traditional type wedding stuff. But it is quite traditional, because I am quite traditional in a weird way, and so is she, and we want to do things properly. But it will be fun. Trust me, anything she does is fun. Anything I do is fun with a bit of variation. Flavor.
I love it. Strong start, Ellie. Strong start. Okay, I'm going to bring in Rick Solizzo now, because Rick Solizzo is a friend of the show, and when we get guests of a certain era, we always turn to Rick and ask for his thoughts. So I'm going to read what he said. He said, I've always found Ali interesting. A lot of rugby guys are really similar, but then you talk to Ali and you don't know where he's going to go next. It's always fun. If I walk into a room and he's there, and I'll laugh to myself thinking, this is going to be interesting. There's only one Ali Williams. There's never been anyone like him. Everyone enjoys him, as challenging as he can be sometimes. He's hard not to like. He's just a bit different, and that's what makes him special.
That's pretty cool, eh?
Yeah, do you think that sums...
Challenging, yeah. That probably sums me up. Like, I don't want to be at this is the challenge, because sometimes I don't want to be at things because I don't want to be at them, whether it's the right or the wrong reason, but I don't. And I sort of, that's the hard thing for me, because you want to do things that you love, and then you can give it more passion, and it doesn't feel like a job and all that sort of stuff. Yes, there's things you don't want to do, but you have to do. And that's the bit that I probably struggle with when it came to the media and the perception of myself is, actually, mate, you got to do this. Do it right, do it thing. Where I probably was like, ugh, and a little, but I still did it in a lively type of way, in my own sort of way. But mate, they're pretty amazing words from Rick. And you know, I looked at Rick for a lot of source of what would be the word, around the media and the perception, because in my eyes, he was the guy that created characters out of the All Blacks pre me, and people became themselves. And I look at, you know, a good relationship with Mark Ellis in the way that he is who he is, and you know, we've got a beach place at the same beach, and you know, we spend a lot of time together over New Year's, and it's that open form of communication where you can say the wrong things at times, but what's your intention of what you're trying to say? So yeah, and look, he's right. You know, I want people to know that I love them and I care for people, but I'm not going to just be that vanilla nice guy. I will tell you if you're being a dick, and I want you to tell me if I'm being a dick. So
one of the things you've got to choose to do recently is part invest in Auckland FC.
There we go.
In the A-League. What was it about that opportunity that just spoke to you and Anna?
Look, my story is a bit different on that rugby front. I did play football till I was 16, and then, you know, second brain kicked in, and everyone watches rugby in this country, and that's when, you know, I started playing rugby, and I loved it, and it gave me so much, and all that sort of stuff. The stories are there, but when it came to this, she couldn't believe that Auckland didn't have a professional sports team. The thing that Miss Mowbray doesn't tell a lot of people is she's actually very, very talented physically around, you know, anything she picks up. Like tennis, she's good at tennis. She's good at, like, we boxed this morning, you know, like she outshines me, and I'm like, hey, hold on. So I have to, you know, and like, you know what I mean? She's physically very, 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 very capable. And as a footballer, she was very good as a footballer. So she does have a passion for football. And we're talking about why Auckland doesn't have a professional team, and our son's into it and all our kids are into it. And it sort of didn't make sense. And then we understood, you know, where the numbers are with football in terms of more kids and the likes of playing football than rugby. And we look at it as a real opportunity around how can we change the perception of sport in this town first, and then hopefully New Zealand, about getting the characters out, being your true self, making mistakes, but striving for success, doing everything it takes for success. And long story short is we went on our own bid with a partner out of a French side that I met over there, which is a pretty big brand. I don't know if I should say the name. Maybe I should. PSG. Yeah. So I spoke with PSG and said, look, would you guys want a partner? And they really looked at it, and we went a long way down that path together. And then, long story short, numbers didn't quite work, but we were still very, very passionate about what we could do. Long story short, we met Bill Foley, and within about 5 minutes he said, look, mate, I'd love you guys to be involved. And we said, mate, we love your energy. You got a 79-year-old man with massive energy, massive passion for sport, and a lot of knowledge, a lot of business success, but also a huge passion for New Zealand. He's invested very, very heavily in this town and in this country. And that was where it was like, right, we're in. You know what I mean? We're in, and this is what we can offer, and this is what we'll bring, and these are our elements, and this is what he brings. And it's really, really exciting. And I think the energy of football fans, but sporting fans thinking, there's potentially a new governance around what we can and can't do. And what I mean by that is this is about giving back to the fans. This is about an engagement with the fans. This is about, as you boys said right at the start, not recorded, but this started as a footy podcast. There's fans and it's the global game, right? Let's not hide from that. But we don't give it to New Zealanders. And let's do that. Let's work with the Phoenix. Let's work with Auckland AFC. Let's work together. Let's work with New Zealand football, and let's drive it, because we can be a successful nation in football, and we can have a lot of fun doing it, And let's challenge the norm. Let's challenge the norm. I want people to come to the stadium and go, oh, actually, there's a game of football on here, but my kid's having so much fun. My best mate's in the corner. I've had a few beers or I haven't, and this is a whole family thing, or it's with my mates, but this is loud, there's atmosphere, there's energy. Oh, and there's a game of football. You know what I mean? I think we get too nutted down with the product on the field. When it's the product on the field, it's the product around the field, it's the product leading into it, it's the product leading out of it, it's the energy. And being in France actually taught me that, because my first game for Toulon, I couldn't speak French very well, and the ref and we had a little blunder, and he gave me one of those yellow card things. So I walked off. I was rucking. I thought we were back in the 80s. I was rucking. So
2005.
He
We'll get it.
He fired me on a yellow, and I walked off first game, and I was like, oh, bugger, man, everyone's going to hate me, right? Like that's what they do here in New Zealand. Standing ovation. Yeah. And I was like, do these people even know what rugby is? And they're like, no, you just play for Toulon. You are a Toulon person, and you provide us entertainment every week, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, but we're loyal and we're behind you. And that was a breaking moment for me in sport, going, you're right, this is entertainment. We're giving to people something that they don't have or could have, but you know what I mean? We're the fortunate ones that are out there on the field. Let's give them everything. Give them, you know what I mean? And that's what I'd really love to see Auckland FC do and provide, and we'll with Bill and Anna, we'll do everything we can to make that happen.
Yeah, keen to spend a few minutes talking about Bill. Other than that initial sort of conversation you had, have you spent a lot of time with him? I'm just fascinated. 79 years old, he's still got so many projects on the go. From what I've heard, he's on top of everything. He knows the numbers inside and out. Yeah. What's his mind like?
Like getting in that room with the three of you together and thrashing things out. Like
we actually haven't been in the room yet.
Okay,
we've been on the
old virtual.
On the virtual. We were going to, but something happened travel-wise. Actually, yeah, no. I was going to see him, but unfortunately on that day we lost Dad. That was right. Anyway, so he has a sense of it's my time to give back. And if you give back in a way, you either do it in two forms. Is you give back in money, go and do it. My time is too valuable, go and do it, blah, blah, blah. Or you give it back in money and time. And for him, when you give time, very similar to Anna, when you give time, it's my proper time. I'm not going to give you some half-assed bit of 5 minutes, I'm going to give you 5 minutes of all I've got, and then that's it. Or I'm going to give you an hour of all I've got. And that's where the magic in Bill is, in my eyes, is he gives you everything when he's engaged, and he doesn't want to be half-cocked going into anything. So I reckon, between him and Anna, it's a lot of inspiration and a lot of, respect of how those two operate and their love and their energy for doing things properly. It's pretty special listening to them. And then they get into a lot of details around business. And then I have to, when I played, just to sort of level it up, and they do state, yeah, we know you played, but this is some number stuff here. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool.
There was something you said before which really fascinated me, and it kind of draws a bit of a tenuous link to what you do in your everyday 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about the sport, you were talking about all the bits and pieces around it. Is your view of Auckland FC and the A-League a little bit like a dilapidated building that's a fixer-upper and you can just see the potential from that thing?
Yeah, 100%. And I suppose maybe that's me in a nutshell. Like a building site, a sports team, a business, a brand, I look at it and go, it can be better. And how can I help it to be better. I don't have all the answers. I don't know anything, but with some energy and some desire to extract the professionals and the really good people, they'll tell you the things to do, but to execute and those sorts of things. So yes, I do look at football in that light as a business, as a building, and I'm like, look at that roof. We can do something with that roof, whether it's a new roof or whether it's, change it or blah blah blah. And that's where I think with football, I look at rugby and I look at it in the same light. I read the whole broadcasting deal and those sorts of things last night. I even text Steve Chu last night and said, mate, and just, sort of gave him a clap emoji and said, well done on that broadcasting, because you don't really know it when you're in the heat of the thing. But I said, mate, what a champion, what he did for rugby back then. And that's the excitement to me in life. How can you make things better and what can you give? And for me, sometimes it's not a lot of knowledge, but it's a lot of experience and a lot of passion. I think probably sums it up.
And that's what you'll be bringing to Auckland FC together with Anna, is those elements, that energy?
And we'll tap on the people that are better than us. I mean, why do people not accept that there's other people that are better than you at something and use them? Like, what? You don't have to take it all yourself. Use those people. I mean, that's probably one of the biggest things I learned from being in the All Blacks is, and especially sort of driven by Graham Henry. Like, he went and got the two best coaches in the world at that time to be his assistant coaches. That takes balls. And he did that in Steve Hansen and Wayne Smith. Some people now arguably say that Wayne Smith or Steve Hansen are better than Graham Henry. But Graham Henry was the one that said, mate, if you're better than me, let's do it together. And I mean, Graham Henry's move, that one move, changed New Zealand rugby and the performance of it. And that's where I really value, and Ted and I are great mates. And that's where I see things like this, is let's get the best. Like, I want to go and speak to my friends at PSG. How do we get that good? Man City. And I'm not afraid to ring anyone and say, hey, mate, I don't really know anything, mate, but can you help me and give me time? And people want to. Generally, people want to help,
It's admirable quality. Right, I'm the path charter, so we've got a lot to carry on with. I'm going to place you.
We've gone through nothing because I talk too much.
We've gone through great stuff.
This is so good. But I want to place you back in what I'm assuming is sixth form at King's College. You'd already represented Auckland at junior level in football, tennis and cricket, and at 17 decided to try your hand at rugby. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Yep. Why such a late start in rugby?
Because as I said before, my second brain between my legs.
I wondered where that was.
Kicked in, and I realised that girls watch rugby more than they watch any other sport in this country. And I was like, I'm going to go and try and play this. And, people said, mate, you'd be good, go and play it, blah, blah, blah. And you play it, and you play one game, and someone runs into you, and you run into them, and you're like, that's quite fun.
Yeah.
And then you run into them harder. And
Were you the physical specimen that you are now in sixth form?
Oh, I love you, mate. I am a shadow of my former self. I used to be incredible, Nick. No, I was all skin and bones. I played for the All Blacks in my first test, and I was under 100 kgs, about 96,
really?
7 kgs, yeah. I looked up to Norm Maxwell. I mean, he was a legend. Like, he was like the flying paper dart, right? And he just hooked into everything. So, yeah, I wasn't that big when I first started playing. I had a growth spurt probably at that age of 16, 17, which put me into that second row position, natural position, because I was quite tall, but real light. No, I loved it.
Seventh form, 6'7", like big.
No. I wouldn't have been that big.
No, you're on your way up.
I was on my way up.
You're a big unit.
6+.
You're
not a big unit. I was just a beampole.
You're a beampole.
Beampole.
The first made your way into the first 15.
In my last year, in seventh form.
Are you class clown as well? Like, what were you like at school?
If anyone said to me, of course you were. And then I would say, but I wasn't really, because I probably wasn't that funny at times, but I probably was a bit mischievous. So let's say halfway, a clown with no makeup, you know what I mean? Just had a stupid hat. So every now and then it was sort of funny, but otherwise like, oh, you're a dork. Energy. School wasn't a school. I struggled with school, only because I probably showed the lack of paper ability that I have. The reading and elements like that I struggled with. So therefore I tried to take away from that. And, people that are dyslexic, they find their superpowers and they find them in different ways. So yeah, probably a little disruptive, and I apologise to all my classmates for being disruptive.
But were you eyeing like a building? I
wanted to be a builder
on the tools.
Yeah. I want to be a builder. So basically, in sixth form, I was playing rugby. Dad was about 6 months into his injury, so still in the hospital. And Mum said to me, "Look, this is ridiculous. You want to be a builder, maybe go and be a builder. If you don't pass sixth form, then you can go and be a builder." And that's in the exam. You had study leave. Remember how you had study leave?
Yeah. Sixth form was a great year because you finished in about October.
Yeah, it was epic. So you did, finished in October. You had a month of
year 12 for the kids listening.
Study leave, and then you went back and did 4 exams or 5 exams, whatever it is, and that was your year. And you went, yeah, it was a great year. Anyway, she said, "Look, if you don't pass, there's no point me paying King's education fees. Go and be a builder." I passed because sixth form was on the numbers, right?
Yeah.
And I passed by 1 mark. So I went back to school, and that's when rugby really kicked in. So yeah, I've been very, very lucky on those elements. Like a lot of things have just timing kicked in. So I am very lucky, and I always do look in the mirror and say you are a lucky human, but
And rugby's
you create your own luck.
The rugby's about 3 years professional by that stage.
Yeah.
So do you leave school and go into club footy? And
I fell out with Mum. She wanted me to go to university and or apprenticeship or do something to upskill myself. I said no, I'm going to give this rugby a crack. And John Taylor, my headmaster, who unfortunately has just passed as well, went to his funeral last week. He wrote in my school report, and he said, "Look, I believe in your dream of becoming an All Black," because I sort of set a dream then. I said, "I'll be an All Black" in the last sort of 2 months of that year at Kings, and everyone just looked and laughed at me. Said, "There's no way." But that's what I wanted to do, and I followed that path. And yes, so Mum and I sort of had our differences. I went and stayed with a girlfriend at the time and her family, and went and just played rugby. Just followed that dream, and I was lucky enough, played Ponsonby rugby in that under 19s team, and then next year I was senior team and made the Auckland team. So yeah.
We sort of skipped over a detail there, which I feel like is a major part of your story. And if you're open to talking about it, you sort of said your dad had an accident, in a pretty influential age.
Yeah,
are you able to talk to us about what happened and how it perhaps affected you then and the relationship through the years?
So what was he? Well, we were about, I think I was 16, and the dates sort of get all muddled up. But I know I was sixth form, and Dad had an accident. He fell down some stairs at the Ericsson Stadium ground. I always call it Ericsson, but now it's Go Media, Mount Smart, blah, blah, blah. So he fell down there stairs at the Elton John concert and whacked his neck, C5 and 6, and became a quadriplegic. We were the ever optimists, so it was the one day that I was actually not having a few beers at a party, and I was driving on my my restricted officer, and Mum rang me at about 1 o'clock in the morning and said, "Look, can you come pick me up at hospital? Dad's had a fall." So went and picked her up, saw him. He was tattered, man. He wasn't in great shape, and I think this is where Mum's attitude on life, her positivity, goes through to us. We were very optimistic that he would walk again and we'd be fine, but sort of 6 months, hadn't come home, still at hospital, and then Laura Ferguson unit, and reality sinks in that your dad is going to be a quadriplegic. It's quite bizarre. It's the first time I've talked about it since he passed. And we became great mates. Like it moved from being a father-son relationship to a mate. And the best part about your mates is they tell you the honest truth. and they tell you things that you don't want to hear, and that's where we went. And he would say to me, you're not doing this, or you're doing this, and so through that rugby career, he was that mirror that never lied, and so he always told you those things. And cheapest, bizarre, and really evolved as a relationship, and he's a special man. I don't know what else to say. I've got so many more things to say. But
Just spend some time here, because thank you so much for sharing this.
Yeah.
It's really special you talking to us about it, because so many people are in similar positions with parents they've lost that have been through some adversity. But
I want to have some of the sparkling.
Yeah, I reckon get into the
I reckon I'll kickstart back into it. And I'll be upsided.
I'll jump in here, because my father had an accident when I was 4 or 5, and he was 12 weeks in intensive care. Ended up having a severe brain trauma, which caused him to be medically retired. And then, by all accounts, I was too young to remember, but his personality completely changed. So I've got two older siblings who they knew a dad up to 1987.
Yeah.
And then from 1987 onwards, he changed. Whereas for me, he was just always, that was who my dad was. So I put you in that bracket of where they were.
Yeah.
Of your father as someone probably a hero up until a point, and then that it just changes completely.
Correct.
And I'm not sure my point here, but
it does. It changes. And I think in hindsight, I look at Dad, and he had that accident. He could have gone one or two ways, right? He could have gone downhill, and it been I don't know, probably not the greatest word, but a leech, like just demanding of everyone. He sort of, it became the making of him. It became this second human, which was inspirational to so many people. He gave people time. In a modern world, he couldn't go anywhere, right? So if someone was there and came and talked to him, he couldn't do a lot. So he fully engaged in that time, and he upskilled himself, educated himself, all that sort of stuff. But he gave people time, and he gave them the time that people desire. And so you go and speak to him, and he would, in his manner, and he would go and he would give you that. And people walk back, and they were recharged, right? They were recharged from seeing him. And at his funeral, the amount of people that turned up, I was like, man, I thought about 30 people would turn up, mate. Most of them neighbours, because they feel like they should, but mate, people actually liked you, Chief. And so he became, for me, that best mate, that true reflection of who you are actually, and we just evolved, and we just had so many fun times. He came and lived with us in France, and he wasn't a burden. Like it was hard for him, mate. Like he was in a lot of pain, and he 27 years in the chair, and he was always positive. He was always upbeat, and you're just like, jeez, how do you do it? Like no one could do it. No one could do it. And
I imagine for someone who was in your position as well, having that accountability on tap and on call must have been an amazing foundation when there's shit going on in your world.
Yeah.
To be able to that accountability mirror, as you sort of said, and cut the shit is amazing.
Go to the phone rings. Oh, here we go. He actually, I don't know if you remember, but I broke my jaw against the guy when we were playing France, All Blacks in France, and Chabal, and I collided and I snapped my jaw and broken. Anyway, I was on in the ambulance, and I was driving to the hospital, and he rings me, and I was like, oh shit, I got to ring him, right? And I got to answer, so I answered. He's like, don't say much, son. I said, and he goes, it's a blessing. Blessing for who? As I spit out, blessing for who? I was pretty grumpy at the time. He goes, blessing for the nation. I said, what? He goes, I'll shut you up for 6 weeks, man. This is brilliant. People don't want to hear your bullshit anymore. And I was like, cheers, mate. I'll ring you in the morning. He's like, good luck, mate. I hope it goes well. You know what I mean? So he is, And you felt a sense of responsibility, play well for him because he was doing his thing. To be there and getting him to a game it's not an easy feat. It's not jump in the car and get there. The old boy's got to time and all that sort of stuff. So I was very fortunate. So I look at it from my point of view, selfishly. I was very, very lucky to have that. And he still had his head, and that was the best part. He still had his brain. He was smarter than all of us put together. And that's where I was very, very lucky. And with mum and my dad, I was just extremely lucky. And then you put my brother in there, and we sort of all worked together as a team. So,
how's just on your brother before we leave there? How special to play with him for Auckland?
Yeah.
How many games did you strap alongside?
I think we played a few in Ponsonby. I think we played a few in Auckland. Maybe one or two in the Blues. Played against each other a few times. I mean, he did it really. He was the road. I was very, very lucky in terms of fortunate about people leaving and the likes and coaches that liked me. He didn't have coaches that liked him, but I don't blame them, the coaches. And it's just cool to do things with your family. You know what I mean? Like, you can't pick them. You don't go out and say, mate, I tick this box, that's going to be my brother, right? You get the good and the bad and the indifferent, and there's things that frustrate the hell out of you about them, but then there's other things that you're just like, if it wasn't you in my life, I wouldn't be this type of person, right? And I'm very lucky now with my extended family, right? And, I got Anna's brothers, and it's just like, you know what? You guys are helping me and challenging me in ways, and I'm hopefully helping and challenging you, even though I know they don't listen to me. But I think they do. No, they don't listen to me. Anyway, like, it's that family that you don't choose that actually makes and shapes the person that you are and makes you want to be this way or that way or this way. You know what I mean? Like, because they're in front of you and they have to be in front of you. And then I think you find that you want to be in front of them, because at the end of the day, without family, what do you have? You know what I mean? It's just,
Attempt at a loose seg here. I guess another kind of family.
A loose what?
Segue. Yeah.
He forgets not everyone speaks podcast. People hammer him for using ep as well.
Because this is my only second one, right? This is my second podcast.
How's it going?
I think I did one. No, I did.
You're lying, because you did a property one. I watched 30 minutes of you chatting property, commercial versus residential.
You didn't listen to the whole thing.
I fucking did. Swear to God, I had it playing on the drive up. Two of you like looking at the camera straight down the barrel, but trying to have a conversation.
That would have been tedious. I don't know if I gave any sense.
I've got a fair idea of commercial property.
Oh, good.
No, I don't. That's a lie.
No, I don't have an idea. So
sorry.
Anyway,
Go.
But on that seg,
on that seg, you go. So my link is to the Blues. 2003, you win the first Super Rugby title with the Blues, and then 20 years later, you have the reunion, which was last year. How good was that? Getting that group of guys back together.
Yeah, you've done that thing where you bump the cable.
How good was that? Getting that group of guys back together.
Amazing. You just people have evolved, right? People have changed. People have gone down paths. People have, outshone what people perceive them to be. People are not doing as well as they want, but there's that great human inside, and you have a connection when you win a championship. You have a connection with someone that lasts forever, right? And last year was really, really special. Like Rupeni Thaldau came from Fiji, and it's not a great story, and unfortunately not a great story, but still as a man and as a human, he's a good man, and we love him, and all those sorts of characteristics shone through. And
when you see a guy like Rupeni walk into a room with all those ex-teammates, what's the feeling that goes through? Because it's a hell of an effort for him just to actually get to a reunion when he's based in Fiji, right?
Correct. And the back blocks of Fiji,
Yeah.
like I'm talking a horse to the bus stop, a bus stop to the boat, a boat to the boat to the swim to the he is back blocks, right?
And then he walks in, and you're just like,
whoa, there's two Rupenis coming. And then you're like, I bet you he's still faster than me. And I think you look at the man as we know him, not as the man physically as he was then or last year. And you have that awe he has an awe about him that I was what I was on a rugby field.
he was a special rugby player.
One of the best. But just seeing him coming there and, lighting people up and vice versa. And it's just great to connect with people, and I'm probably, let's be honest, I'm not the greatest friend in the world for so many reasons, in the fact that, yes, I love you, and yes, I care for you, and if you're my friend, I'll do anything for you, but I'm not an everyday texter. I'm not a, hey, bud, this is it. And yes, it annoys me sometimes I'm not like that, but I get so visioned in what I'm doing that I forget about that, but it doesn't mean I forget about them internally. And you see guys like that and you're like, mate, you're a friend, and I would do anything for you, but sorry, I haven't rung you in 15 years, so just reunions like that trigger
That's a
things.
male thing. Like we're the
Yeah.
same.
Oh, you are?
Life goes on. It's
Yeah.
it's really hard to keep in contact. You've got to make a real conscious effort to do it. Otherwise, it doesn't happen.
Well, we go in our natural bubble, right? And I think the sporting world is the pinnacle of this bubble world. So you go in your natural bubble and you stay in that bubble and you keep, every day you turn up to work and that's your bubble, and then poof, it pops and you're like, ooh, okay. Now what do I do? And then you go and find another bubble because we have to make a living and we have to do things and kids and all that sort of stuff. And they form our bubbles. But that's not to say that there was elements in those bubbles that we still want, but they just don't naturally come in our path. And we've got such busy lives. Like, it's ridiculous how busy people are.
Just when you have 5 kids.
Yeah, you're right. But life's admin, like you guys must admit, it gets on top of you, doesn't it? Like, I walked out and I got a parking ticket. I'm not the greatest, Auckland Council. I'm not the greatest of parking payers. I just don't pay. I don't believe in it. But I got a parking. It's like, that's another 20 minutes of my day that I've got to go and pay, get online. Is the internet working? Do I do it on my phone? Mate, I've got fat fingers. It's harder on my phone, so I prefer to do it on my computer. Well, I've got to get to my computer, but yes, I'm working and I haven't replied. And it's like, how do we streamline life so we can do the things that we enjoy more, which is sitting on the couch with our kids, or going for a walk with our kids and our family, or having that beer with the old man or mum, or you know what I mean? Like, it feels like it just burdens us every now and then.
But despite all of that, you walk into a room with those old teammates, and is it like you never left?
Yeah, straight away. They're like, what are you going to do stupid tonight? What are you going to do stupid? Mate, you'll be home in about 20 minutes, mate, so we better make the most of you because you're boring, you know what I mean? It's exactly the same. And it's special.
Yeah.
It's so special. And, those Blues teams and that Blues family, and even now, right, it is a special team. It's created a lot of joy and happiness for Aucklanders and Northlanders and Harbour people, the region, I should say. And it's still doing that. And, Leon McDonald, he did a great job elevating it, and Vern's doing the same. And it's just a special club. It is a very, very special club. So, whenever you can still do things with them, it's fun.
We're into the rugby era now, and I'm going to go fishing for a few stories. Now, these have been in your book, so I'm hopefully you're okay to talk about them.
I wrote a book early. I wrote a book early.
That's what Anna said as well. She said, just read the book. Everything's in there.
The one that grabbed our attention I want to start with is the before the game against Wales, the naked rugby on the field where you got injured.
Before the tour.
Before the tour. Yeah, before the tour.
Yeah. Well, like when you win a championship, it's pretty special. And if you don't appreciate the success, what the heck are you doing it for? Like, your boys, the success of this. If you don't look at each other and go, cheers, thanks for that, have a beer, what the hell are you doing it for? Because to look at the bank account and go, that's the money I got, that's not success. It's that stop, that 5 minutes, that time of enjoyment. So I looked at that success after we won the MPC for probably 48 hours. Got to Mad Monday and we're still going, and we're at the top of Eden Park at the terraces, and I don't know, things were getting boring. We needed a bit of life, right? So I thought I'd get nude. Got nude, ran down and scored a try because I didn't score a try in that season. So I ran down, scored a try, ran back, and thought, why one try, right? Let's draw another try. And then obviously the boys and the hype started building. And I had Mr. Braid, who long story, but Dan Braid and Angus
I was going to say Dan, not Don.
Dan Braid and Angus MacDonald are a big reason I'm playing rugby. Those two got me into rugby at Kings and things like that. So anyway, we knew each other very, very, very well. And he goes, "Oh, well, I'm not going to let you score a try." And so he came and we sort of like pegging towards that corner flag. Boom, tackles me, land on my shoulder, boom, pop my shoulder out. And next day I'm turning up at All Black camp with Steve Hansen, and I said, it happened in the game. He's like, did it just? I said, yeah. He goes, you got 2 more chances, otherwise you're not coming on tour. And anyway, so I said, look, mate, I tripped over. Being a bit foolish, tripped over. Last chance, mate, otherwise you're not coming. We were playing cricket. I used the word cricket rather than rugby. I said, we were playing cricket. We collided in the middle. And yes, I was nude. And he goes, oh, okay, you're going to play the first test. And I was like, my shoulder. Got to live and die by what you do, Chief. And so I played it against Ireland. No, I didn't. I played the second test, which is about 7 days after, and it was one of the sorest things I've ever done in my life. And he changed me and put me on the right side of the scrum on the sore shoulder. Just to fuck. Yeah. And that's why I love Steve, and that's why I love those guys. They were just awesome for my career because they knew what I needed. You know what I mean? Like, you're a dick. Why should anyone else sacrifice what they've done for you to be that? Get out there and right your wrongs. And I did pride myself on righting my wrongs, only because I got so used to it.
Did you ever write the Viagra and the NPC trophy situation?
I think Ted has always thanked me. And
Ted or Raywin?
Raywin has definitely thanked me. I think there's numerous other kids around the world that have thanked me. Because the creation of mankind was stemmed off a Viagra.
Was that in Hamilton, or was that in? Did you get the trophy back to Auckland?
We came back to Auckland, and it was probably about 8 weeks before the season was finishing. And I'm sitting on the medical table, and Doc and myself, the season's not looking good, is it? I said, no, mate, we almost need to win every game here to get through. And I was young. I don't know, 20. 18, 19, I was like, hey, Doc, anyway, that Viagra stuff, does that really work? Like, I don't have an issue with it, but does it work? Oh, yeah.
And this is just time stamping. This is at the time where it had just entered the market.
It was a marketing push, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, well,
very commonly used these days.
Can I give it a crack? And he's like, I don't have any, but I think I could probably get some. And I said, oh, great. Well, why don't we make a bet? If we win the championship, and he's like, you're not going to win the championship, mate. Let's be realistic. I said, you've got to give everyone in this team a Viagra, and let's see what they think. We'll do a case study, right? Yep. Anyway, the Doc being the Doc, who's a bloody legend, we won the tournament. We won the NPC, and he gives them all to us on the night of winning.
Wow.
And I was like, well, that's a stupid idea. So it was like, guys are like, so I get them all. I was like, just put them in the trophy, mate. And all the trophies is full of beer and all the Viagra, and we're just mixing it up. It's a concoction of love. Concoction of love. So, yeah, that was funny.
You've seen the coach have a skull of it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh. And you just see, where's he going? Well, he's gone. So it wasn't the latest of nights, but it was a night of success for so many guys.
It was that era was kind of, it precursored like uber professionalism, right? It was still a bit of fun in the game, and then it sort of changed, right? And it became metrics and heart rate monitors.
We had a lot of deep and meaningful times in that era in terms of why are you doing it? You're doing it for the wrong reasons. Why are you a rugby? Like, why are you an All Black? To get the money, or are you trying to be a better person, or are you trying to be a better All Black? Well, are you saying that being a better All Black comes before being a better person? No, because is this going to finish? Yes. So let's be better people. Better people make better All Blacks, which you guys would have heard before. And then you sit there, and we had a time when Wayne Smith is like, guys, this is not what it was about for me. This is not the dream I wanted. You guys have a path here, and socialism, socializing and having fun, and then sort of playing really good sometimes and not so others. And during the week, you sort of tick boxes, but you don't. It's not really for me. And we're like, what, you're just going to leave? He's like, well, I'm not fulfilling my shit. The best coach in the world's just going to leave because we're not. I was like, guys, what are we doing here? We've got, that guy needs to stay and we need to change our ways. Little moments like that. And they're not public or anything like that. And, how Smithy has described it, or how anyone describes anything, is their own perception of it. But in my eyes, it was like, why is that guy leaving? Why are we having to bandy around to make him stay? What are we doing wrong? And look at yourself first before you look at anyone else. And that's when you start this professionalism, And then it was like, well, hold on, we're going so professional that we're overtraining, we're not doing anything, we're not enjoying ourselves. Why aren't you being your real self? So then this whole value of find the balance between real self and a professional sportsman. So all these things came organically. They didn't come like the book The Legacy says, dun, 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 dun. It just didn't happen like that. It came organically. We're sitting in Twickenham, and I remember it so vividly. Richie, Dan, myself, Andrew Hoare, Steve Hansen, and we just look around. We're having a few beers. We've just beaten them. We're looking around and we're like, look at this changing room. There was crap everywhere. Like, who do we actually think? We came in, there was towels, it was all presented. Errol Collins, boss, the bag man, he had presented, the place looked immaculate. Like a photo, you're like, oh yeah, that looks cool. Walked in, then we're sitting there after the whole thing and it looks like an absolute sham. I was like, what gives us the right to leave something like crap? Why can't we do our bit? So we slowly started picking it up, sweeping it, sweep the sheds, like leave it better than what we found it. And you're like, that's not hard, but that's when it comes back to the kids element. Little things like that is not hard, but what it means to your life as a person and what you stand for means so much. And so as a team, we were like, actually, we can be good people. We can be real. We can be down here when we want to be, and we can be up here when we need to be. So it's, that's what that team gave me and so many of us, that realism of real humans and things like that. And it's changed, social media. I mean, I was sitting in, my dad's brother was a tech guy, and in 2002 just made the All Blacks, and he was in the UK, and I played against England, and he's like, oh, where's your website? I thought, what do you mean a website? What a website? And he's like, mate, you need a website. So he makes me a website, aliwilliams.com. It's like, who the fuck do you think you are, Ali? You were one test and you got a website. And it's little things like that I just sort of went, you're right, actually. Well, why not have a website? Did I commercialise it, and was I that good like a Dan or Richie and make heaps of money of it? No. Did we close it down pretty quickly? Yes. But was I one of the first people to have a website? Yes.
I went to aliwilliams.com. Yeah. Someone's trying to sell it.
My uncle, mate. He's passed away, so unfortunately, it's his son trying to pay us. Maybe he owes me some money. Anyway, someone can have it.
You mentioned Wayne Smith there. We actually went to him to ask about you too, and he's sent a few bits in. So his summary is smart, athletic, open, energetic, confronting, and fun game changer. Hugely popular within the team. And he's given us two moments to talk about. One of them is the crossfield kick in 2005.
Do you want me to talk about it?
Yeah.
Oh, that was career defining.
Well, I remember watching it and going, what the fuck's he doing? And, oh, yeah!
I think they were all like that in the coach's box. I don't know. I suppose footballer in me came out. I always believed that there was no reason why anyone on the field couldn't do anything. And I really, really struggled with it. When I played rugby, unlike a lot of forwards, I looked at the whole field when most forwards are looking here. And it was probably the downfall of my game in so many ways, but it was also probably a good thing in my game. And, some reason I see Dougie out there and he's waving at me like a fan, and I was, I'll take this limelight, right? And I grabbed the ball. I was just like, let's do this. Like, give it a crack.
And you were 5 meters out right in front.
Yeah, it was one of the silliest, stupidest things you could have ever done if it didn't work. But it worked. So I grabbed it and kicked it, and Yeah, and everyone was like, I think we're all more shocked that I did something that stupid and it came off. And Doug and I were like, wow.
Yeah.
And Doug and I had quite a cool little relationship on the field, and great relationship now, but on the field he sort of helped me in my running technique because I ran like a drunken giraffe, right? My knees can't get very high, so I sort of scuffle. And he's a sprinter, right? He's a good-looking man and a good-looking sprinter. And he would just laugh. But I was actually faster than people thought I was, so I was actually quite.
I thought you were going to say Dougie there, and I thought you were going to put a distance. I was actually faster than him over the first 3
No, so 10 meters.
Yeah,
I was
okay.
really, really fast, really fast. Push on with the other, the who start tangling up, and I was no good,
Snort
right?
it again. Yeah, you got to snort. You got to snort. It's good. There's one every episode is a snort. Unreal.
And so there was one thing I made. I did a intercept against Wellington NPC in the semi-final, and Dougie was right next to me, and he wouldn't let me pass him the ball to run and score the try because there was an open field. He was like, come on, knees up, keep running. And you see him literally running beside me. I'm like, he's like, no, keep running. Feet, legs up. And he's like, score the try. And he's like, yeah, you did it. So he sort of had this thing on the field, and when he like gives me this one, on the corner, I'm like, if he wants it, he's going to get it, So he did that, which was, yeah.
That's like a nostalgic clip now. It's on Facebook. There's a little clip of it. It's had about 250,000 views and thousands of shares. It's like it takes you back to a moment when perhaps rugby was a bit different.
Yeah. I think that time is where women's rugby is at the moment. They're willing to chuck the ball around. They're willing to give things a crack. If they fail, they fail, and the whole team's going to get around them to make it good. And it was a fun time with rugby. Like, people tried things, people gave it a crack, and if you were a little different, then you sort of paved the way. But if you were brave enough to try things, they sort of came off. Where now, if you're brave enough to try something, it's sort of, if it doesn't work, that's preferred.
There's a phrase you've used which I like, which is disagree but commit anyway.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you're talking?
Well, that's one of the things we had in the All Blacks. Disagree and commit. Well, what does it mean in a nutshell? It means basically have your say. If you don't agree, because we're not all going to agree, right? What t-shirt I should be wearing and what you think
fragrance,
I should be.
yeah.
Fragrance,
what fragrance you got on?
We're all going to disagree, but to a degree. But if you disagree, you've got to all accept that you've had your point, you've had your say, but the one thing that we are going to commit to it and do it 100%. Don't look back. If you start looking back on a team decision because you say it wasn't mine, you're just a burden. You're just a dead weight. And that was one of the things we were strong about, like at a line-out session, we would come up with our own moves, Steve and all the line-out guys and all that sort of stuff. And it was like, that's what we're going to do. Like, you don't get to a Thursday and say, mate, I didn't actually agree with this. Well, it's Thursday, mate. We've got a game on Saturday. What are we going to do? Oh, we'll train. And it's like, no. You can't do that. But if you collectively go adapt and things like that, that's different. But that commitment of a team decision, go for it, man. Don't look back. Don't look, like being a parent, like being a friend. Like, if that's what you believe is right, do it and go for it. So, yeah.
You committed to the Spider-Man suit in the Crusaders. And this was huge news, right? You played for the Blues, you move and you go to the Crusaders for a year, and playing the Blues, and you do that to take the attention away from the game.
The first person that actually realised what I try to do.
Yeah, you eat up the 10 minutes of media time, right?
It was so good. So, why I went to the Crusaders was very clear and obvious. I fell out with a guy, and as I said, look, I'm going to be a disservice on the Blues if I'm here. You don't want me here. I can go and play rugby somewhere else. Let's not ruin this team just because I'm a dork and we don't get on, right? That's cool. So, I rang. It's quite funny.
Is that how you view it now?
Yeah. Like I didn't see eye to eye with the coach, and why should I take down a whole team when there were other options? If it was my life and it was the only, I would have potentially looked at things differently, I think. But I did have options. I was lucky. I had options. So it was quite funny. I rang all the coaches. I just rang them. I was like, oh, shit, I better get onto this. So I rang all the coaches and said, look, would you have me? Yep, oh, I don't know. Yeah. So I rang them and they all were pretty positive. And then I rang Rich. I said, McCaw, I said, well, what do you reckon, bud? What do you reckon? I said, well, I don't know. So he didn't, and then I was like, bugger this. I'll ring me old mate. So I rang Dan. I said, bro, what do you reckon? Shall I, what should I do? And he goes, what do you mean? I said, I've got a plan. I'll come down, live with you, because he was an Auckland living community. I said, I'll come down, live with you, and we'll commute, blah, blah, blah. He's like, yeah, great idea, blah, blah, blah. I get a message from his wife, Anna, not a great idea, you two. I was like, oh, okay. So that was a no. So I went back to Rich, and I said, mate, what do you think? He's like, yeah, you could come and live with me, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes, but do you really want to play for us? And I said, well, I don't know. Like, the Chiefs are closer, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, I tell you what I would do. Oh, okay, mate, I've got to listen to you. You're the captain, right? You're my mate, but you're the captain. I said, what do you think? He says, 2 teams, get a coin, flip a coin, and whatever one you want it to land on is your answer. Yeah. And I said, are you real? You real? He goes, yeah. So here's me with a team of bing, ding. And he goes, what is it? He goes, don't look at it. I said, what do you mean? He goes, don't look at it. He says, what team, what's heads and what's tails and Crusaders and Chiefs? And I said, I don't know. And he goes, but heads is the Crusaders and, what do you want it to be? I said, I don't know. Heads. Don't look at the coin. Threw the coin away. Yeah. Like, I'm coming to Crusaders. So that was it. And it was just a great time. It was just a lot of fun. Great people. Showed me a different way of how they do things. Community, family. They really bring in their family. They are one inclusive place. They're so passionate. The people of Christchurch brought me in. And I felt, in a weird way, I felt wanted, but I also felt myself. And they always sort of accepted me. And they're like, you are an Aucklander, mate. Just letting you know you're an Aucklander and you're a dick. But we really love you and we want you to play well for the Crusaders. And it was real, you know what I mean? It wasn't like, oh, we'll bring him in and we'll turn him into a Christchurch person. No. They just fully embraced me. And then we segued. And then we're segueing back in. Yeah, the Blues game came. Shit, I went a long way down.
That's the beauty of podcasts.
I went a long way down there. And then anyway, come to the Blues game and I was like, I can't be bothered talking about me and a relationship with a coach. It's about the Crusaders and the Blues. And there's that many people in between it. Why should it just be about me and that coach? So we basically had a thing and I was like, fuck, I don't want to do it. Oops, sorry.
You're right. No, you can swear all you want.
Well, it's kids.
That's
kids. Think about Bowie when he's going to listen back to all of the times to you.
Daddy swore and I know. Yeah. Guess what I have to do? I've got to go home and do 15 press-ups now.
Do you?
Oh, yeah, man. There's punishment, mate. There's punishment. Okay. Or they're going to make me do lines. I will not swear on the radio. Okay. I'm a big lines guy because my mum made me do lines. And actually, we had swear jars and lines. And when we just cleaned out Dad's house, there was this 30-year-old Powerade container, swear jar, still had a bit of money in it from me and my brother. Oh, so good. And the kids were like, what's this? I said, swear jar. Coming here, it's coming with us. Unfortunately, I don't have any money at the moment to put money in it, pay the rent. So anyway, the guys go, well, why don't you do it and just not do it? And I said, oh, they're making me do it. The media's making me do it. And I was like, fuck, I'll tell you what, let's dress up. Because Dan and I were big dresser-uppers. We loved our dress-ups. And Dan goes, dress up, mate. Put the Spider-Man on. And I was like, no. He goes, $100. You won't do it. I said, what? It's $100. I said, oh, man, boy. So it happened organically. I didn't really mean to do it. But then when I sort of got into it, I was like, mate, this is awesome. So I went in there and answered everything in the third person, answered everything as Spider-Man, did about 10 minutes of, I've been helping town out, I've been doing this, blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, okay, what about, sorry, mate. And I got a friend, Ross Filippo, who came in as the Phantom, which was what so Dan was the Phantom, I was Spider-Man, and Dan obviously has a pretty big image, so he didn't want to ruin that. Yeah. Too late, mate. And Ross was like, I'll do it. So he came in as the Phantom and goes, there's a problem in town, mate. We got to go and help it. And we timed it perfectly so that the media were just about to get to the nitty gritty. Gotta go, boys. So we're gone. And so therefore the whole thing was actually about the teams and not me and the coach. And in hindsight, it was genius. And I didn't really think it through though, but it just naturally happened like that. So it's
Randomly, we caught up with Ross at this Chiefs
the
thing
Chiefs
this week, and we're like, "Hey, do you and Ali know each other well?" And he's like, "Yeah, man, I was the Phantom."
He's a legend, mate. I love Floss, and I love seeing what he's doing there with the Chiefs, and he's just a good human. I love good humans. Be yourself, you know.
What does that mean? Be a good. What is it? Because you use it a lot, and I had it in my notes to come back to towards the end. But being a good human, what is that to you?
First is being yourself. First is showing your flaws and showing who you are and showing what matters to you and what doesn't matter to you, being your real self. And then knowing that there are things that you just don't need to do, but sometimes you're just going to do them and walk towards that. And one of the big things is you're going to make mistakes. We're all going to make mistakes, but own that mistake. Sorry, Dad, I did do that. I mean, great, we can move on now. But if you don't and you bullshit around it, like that's not it. And valuing people for who they are. Like, don't look at the money, the car, the flash thing, the popularity, all that sort of. What's the person? Like, I look at Dan and Carter, and I go, mate, you are one of the most incredible human beings, and Anna for that, the success that they have had. And I don't think this country knows how much of a superstar Dan is, or how much of a superstar Anna is, and what they've done in their own. But to still be great people, still be real, like still be a dad, still be a mum, still value their friendships with other people, even though this glorified magic is coming into their life daily, they're just still great people. And it's people like that set the example for me, and I think a lot of others, to just be good humans.
Do you consider yourself a good human? By that definition?
Yes, I do. But if I'm going to be completely honest, I've probably made a few too many mistakes, if you know what I mean. I probably haven't learnt fast enough. I think in the last sort of 7 to 8 years, I've realised that being a good human is not having as many blips. But I know deep down that from my parents' upbringing, I have the values of a good human, if that makes sense. So, yeah.
And part of being a good human is recognising where you've fallen over in the past and the lessons that you've learned from it as well.
That's why I pushed it so early on in this podcast, so that you could then say that you still are. So, I can get better. Always strive for success. I can get
Can
better.
Dan Carter get better?
Yeah. Nah, there's a lot of flaws in that kid. Trust me. I don't know why it took me so long. There's a lot of flaws in that kid. He's not looking as good nude anymore.
It's not.
No, I haven't seen him for 10 years nude, but
It's just pics.
he doesn't even send me those anymore. It's getting boring, right? It's getting boring. Richie, talk about his body. I mean,
Yeah, we saw him at the Halbergs.
Yeah.
turning into
Lean.
a feather.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a race
seriously.
with him and Kieran Reid to see who's
gonna be-
dropped as much playing weight.
Oh, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, I'm all for looking good naked, right? That's my personal-
Superpower.
Maybe
There was
when
another thing Anna sent to us, so we thought we'd leave it out.
mate, I think you've got to respect yourself. You know what I mean? Like your body and things like that. You've got to, and your mind and things. And my drive is, and I do say it to myself a lot, you got to look good naked. I mean,
We're jumping around everywhere, but how has the rig pulled up post-career? Because you had some struggles during playing.
Yeah,
Achilles and knees and shoulders and things.
well, I was going to be honest, I'm not in great nick. Visually, I haven't put on a lot of weight and that sort of stuff. I do a fair bit of work. I think where I'm falling down and understanding myself now is I've lost a lot of my strength, which was nursing a lot of my bigger injuries. And so, day to day, I'm on a pain level. But you just learn to handle pain, and there's other people that have got pain, and there's things that I can do, and there's things that I should do, and there's things that I don't do. So that's my choice.
After you've been a professional athlete, do you just never go into a gym again?
I think you should. I think we say we're going to have a break for a month, 6 months, 2 years, 5 years. Shit, I haven't been to a gym for 5 years. Yeah, I can see why, mate. So you should. You've got your body craves it, right? You've taught your body for so long to do it. Your body actually craves it, and self-reflection, I'm probably not doing it as much as I need to. But I am boxing, do a bit of Pilates, play tennis. But Anna beats me all the time. So she beats me at bloody everything.
And sounds like a gun.
Yeah, she does. And then I get a lot of this because she's on the social media, that Instagram stuff, and she posts a lot of these videos. But it's always me losing. And I'm like, look, guys, for the people out there that listen, I actually win majority of it, but she always posts the ones that, and I'm like,
perception and reality.
We might need Anna on to get her side of the
you
story.
Can verify it. You can verify it. I've won one thing.
One of the things I wanted to ask about is you grew up in this era of sort of the manly man, right? Like coming in through rugby. We've had a moment in here of showing of vulnerability.
Yep.
You had the same thing when you retired from the All Blacks.
Yep.
Is that something you've learned to embrace and not shy away from?
Yep. I think it probably started when we used to gather around our 8-inch TV. Remember those 8-inch TVs?
I wasn't sure where you were going with that.
If only it was 8-inch.
Sorry.
But you know how you used to have those little, not a lot of those little box TVs with the radio, and you had the little screen there, and then you had the radio adjuster. I'm probably a little bit older, but so we used to gather around that on Sunday nights and watch Flying Doctors, the family. And Dad was stoic, Jay was very stoic, Mum was pretty stoic, but for some reason it got me. And it got me at a young age, and that quivering lip, and I'd get emotional. And I've always had it, and I tried to hide it originally, and then I was like, man, I can't hide this stuff, and I do get emotional, I do cry, and as you say, I had to walk towards it. Like I just had to do it because I couldn't hold off. So it was just part of who I was, and you know, I openly said, "Shit, I'm crying. I'm gonna cry, and I don't know, but my emotions just boil up, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think I'm any weaker for it. I think if anything, I'd like more people to bear all on their souls, and people can genuinely help. If you're hiding stuff, then they can't. I love speaking to people. Well, I love empowering people to go be vulnerable. Like that is the key in life, is be vulnerable. And by being vulnerable, we use that word vulnerable as a catchphrase, but it's really being your true self. So telling your true feelings, your true thoughts, and that sort of stuff. And if everyone knows the elements, then they can help. But if they don't know the elements, it's hard for people to help. So yeah, it is one of my things. My shaky bottom lip.
It's endearing. It's good. It's one thing that we've learned across this 160 episodes. It's people open up, and people relate to it and respond to it because it's real.
Yeah.
The one big part of your career in life, which we haven't touched on yet, is Paris and 2017. And it's a mark against you, but it's something that you've. I don't know. I'm interested in how you reflect on what happened there and how you look at it now.
Yeah. Well, I think it's one of those things where life was good, you were flying high, things were easy, you weren't potentially challenging yourself as much as you probably should, but deep down you had a fear. The road of being a professional rugby player is finishing. And I say these things in hindsight over an event that happened. The event happened, and was I there in the wrong time, the wrong place? I can go into the day-to-day dealings of it, or the actual second-by-second dealings of it, and I remember it quite vividly. And are there contributing factors? Yes, but that is a pub story that I can tell to anyone, blah, blah, blah. But the real reality is around what happened and what situation I got myself into. And I got myself into, the wrong side of the law. And I had to deal with that. And how do you deal with that? There's consequences of that. And, the court case, the trial by media, people think I have a criminal record. I do not have a criminal record. It's those things, but the media has, it was brutal. Like, people were walking into my dad's house. He couldn't defend himself. And they were walking to his dad's house, and we're prizing for all these things. It was just brutal, but it was one of those moments that it's like, you actually can't look anywhere else apart from at yourself in the mirror and take responsibility because you did it and you put yourself in there, and this is on you. So at the time it was very interesting, because that's when I realized, man, I have no option but to own this solely, completely, and I did that. And I even went to the French, my president at the time, the owner of the club, and I said, look, mate, it's I put your your company, your brand, your club, the players in disrepute, I'll walk away and apologise. And he couldn't understand it. Frenchman, he couldn't understand it. He said, "You're not going to fight, and you want your money." And all. I said, "Mate, don't pay me a cent from here on in. I got to walk." And that's what happened. And he helped me out and said, "No, you need to stay here for a few months and get your family all right and getting all that sort of stuff sorted." And we did, and then moved back and things like that. And I think it becomes fish and chip paper to everyone else, but I think it becomes, in a weird way, top of mind for me on a daily basis, daily, weekly basis, that, man, that was one thing that, you're not better than law. None of us are better than the law, right? Mum always taught me that, be a character, but the law's there for a reason, right? And you've got to, let's hope I don't get a speeding ticket, right?
Or another parking one.
Or in the parking, that's the law too, yeah. Is parking ticket actually the law, though?
Nah.
It's not, eh? That's just...
Nah.
Okay.
The brutal backlash, was that months? Are we talking years? Like, how long did it take you to come out of that?
I think it was probably months.
Yeah.
Months, maybe years. A few years. And now I think it's more me, the pressure I put on myself not to fail again. And with the kids and stuff, I walk towards it, and I confront it with them. I did do something wrong. I got on the wrong side of the law, and it wasn't what you're meant to do, and I made a mistake. But everything happens for a reason, right? Dad's injury happened for a reason. I don't know the fucking reason, but it happened for a reason, and the byproduct of it was, as I said, selfishly, it made me a better person, and I think it made him a better person. The byproducts of me getting caught on the wrong side of the law was, is a conscious thing in me. I haven't got ahead of myself. I came back, and the real world is I got to start. I start at the bottom and try and work my way up. And one of the great things, people don't really know what I do, which is quite cool. And because everyone's known what I've done before, and now they sort of don't really know what I do. But
do you want to tell us what you do?
I'm in commercial property, so I buy buildings and add value to them in different ways, whether it's new leases and all that sort of stuff. I live and die by my own sword. So if I buy something and it doesn't work, then I'm in the high jump financially and thing. Best part is I got a great business partner. We're two different people, very different people, but he very much has elements that make me a better person, and likewise, and he challenges me in ways that no one's challenged me in that way, because it's been quite a bravado type of life that I've lived, and he in his quiet demeanor just challenges me. And we have an honest relationship, and the best part is we're dealing with big stuff, right? We're dealing with good portions of money, and the risk is big, but the reward is big as well. And the best part is you don't have to fly a flag and shout from the rafters about what I'm doing. I can just tick away and do it. So I'm very grateful for, once again, another element that I have been lucky with, finding the right business partner and things like that. So
what's your work-life balance look like?
Pretty good. I'd like to spend more time. I just go and try and do everything. So I can 7 o'clock this morning to 10 o'clock tonight, I will cover everything from the football team to building the house to work to friends to weddings to training to all that sort of stuff. And I probably don't sort of allocate my time, blah, blah, blah. But that's my mental brain going, blah, blah, blah. I can't just... So
yeah, do you work best when you've got multiple things?
When I've got heaps of things on
the
and
go?
I like more challenges like that. Not too bad. Not too bad.
What's your connection to rugby these days? Are you watching games?
Watch a little bit, not a lot. Get a lot of reward and enjoyment out of the Blues alumni, which is the old Blues network, and the Crusaders. I'm still in those sorts of things, but not a lot, to be honest. I sort of, in a weird way, I had my time, I had my moment, and where I can help, I would. But I don't think, and it's going to sound silly, I don't think the hierarchy of rugby wanted me to help. And look, I try to start a new game in Europe.
Yeah, Rick
was
just
big on that.
He
Kevin
just pulled
Roberts.
the layer back a look. Didn't give me any detail, but said it was worth a second
Kevin
glance.
Roberts, I was quite brave and optimistic. I had sponsors on board. I had World Rugby sitting there saying, "We want to do this. Great, let's do it." Bah. And so what I'm trying to say is that I don't think rugby wanted my crazy thoughts or my ability to push the norm, and hence probably why we're doing football and AFC, because we believe that we can push the norm and we believe that we can give the fans of football and sports what they want and to be engaged and tied in and stuff like that. So that's probably the reason that I don't have a lot of involvement with rugby.
On the flip side, have you dusted the gloves off and ever thought about coming back in goal for an over 30s
Well,
team?
I did actually.
Did you?
Yeah.
How did you go?
Steve Ferguson and myself. Steve Ferguson. Have you talked to Steve Ferguson?
No, we need
Biggest
to.
arms.
Great
Biggest
human being.
arms in the game.
Biggest arms. That guy is our most accomplished sportsman in this country, bar none. He's represented New Zealand on 4 different events and been a world champion on every single one of them.
Swimming,
Swimming,
canoe racing,
canoe racing,
and I'm out.
sailing,
Oh, really?
yeah,
Kayak.
and kayaking.
Is that different to canoe racing?
No, surf lifesaving.
There you go. Yeah. Wow.
The guy's a legend.
Yeah.
And so him and I thought, we're still legends. We'll play in a football team. So we played in a football team with a few of the old boys at Western Springs. We played down there and we had a goal, shoot-off, penalty shootouts. Oh, you beauty.
Did you play in
I
goal?
was in goal.
Yeah.
That's what I live for, right? That's us goalies. We know that's what we live for. Pressure's on us. You can only be a hero. That's the best part. Penalty shootouts,
Yeah.
goalkeeper can
Yeah.
only be
No
a hero.
expectations.
They can't fail. Anyway, did all right. Did all right. Those young kids are still losing sleep over the fact they couldn't get it past this old boy. And I died a few weeks later. I was like, oh, man. Anyway, fractured my neck.
Oh.
So I had an operation. My arm went all numb and I was in some serious pain. Jumped in for my, I think it was 16th operation. Went through, they fused my neck and took the chips out and stuff like that. So basically I would still play, but Anna does not want me to
Big
play.
target man up front, maybe? Just
A drunken giraffe who doesn't have a functioning body, who is a best place is at the goal or behind the goal. Running water, potentially. Even then, have you seen me run water? The guys would, any chance, mate, any chance. I'm getting there, boys. Yeah.
Mate, legend. Are there any bits and pieces, Shay, before we wrap up?
Oh, I guess, we had some good history of Black Clash stories about how good a time it is getting everybody together. Did you have a positive experience at the Black Clash?
Black Clash? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, this year it was one of my finest sporting moments, bowling the biggest wide the world has ever seen. I didn't even get on the field, mate. I didn't get on the pitch.
Forgot about that. It wasn't in the notes.
It went so left skewed. I was like, holy shit. And actually, I had a moment in a club game when Richie, myself, and Mark, and a few of those boys, and I had the same moment, mate. It was like a 14 bowl over, and I was like,
Widest
boys,
of the wides.
and I just got quite nervous. My shoulder went. It was just a shambles. And anyway, Richie was watching it. He's like, oh, fuck, it's going to happen again. The poor guy. Anyway, recorrected, bowled him out the next ball.
Yeah.
But the reason I played was because Brian Lara took so much of my time on a TV, in front of a TV. And to me, he was just such a legend. And that is where we're really, really lucky, the people that we get to meet. And, I said, look, I'd love to play because I'd love to meet Brian. I'm sitting next to him. We're chewing the fat. What made you tick? What made, you know what I mean? And those are the really, really cool things. So Black Clash is great for that. Really, really special. And understanding different athletes and different people and what made them tick and all that sort of stuff with the same sort of understanding that you did have to perform under pressure, I think is really cool. And people do it different ways and people look at it very different ways. And that's sort of, in closing, I think probably one of the luckiest things from my career and still to this day is the people I get to meet, fortunate enough to, whether they want to or they don't want to, pick up the phone or bump into me and things like that, like, from meeting the Queen to all sorts of people, from, Del Piero, the Italian footballer, to, Mandela, to all those sorts of people that I've been fortunate enough to meet. It shapes your experience of life and it enhances it, and it also makes you feel how lucky you are. And we can look at life in so many different ways, and the more you meet people, the more you understand that your life is really quite amazing for the elements that only you have. You know what I mean? And so yeah, I'm a very, very lucky human. I'm a very, very excitable human. I want to be the best dad I can be, and I want to know that being an All Black is not just me. I'm more Ali the person, and and there's so many different parts about me that I'm still evolving and still going to get better. And if I have more than 10 people turn up to my funeral, then life will be a success. So keep smiling and charge on and live life, team. Live life.
Mate, I've really loved this chat. I've loved meeting you, the person. I can't wait to share this with our listeners. It's been such a cool episode. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing your journey and your life with us and some of the hard moments. And man, it's been such a cool chat. Shay?
Yeah, I think, by your definition, good human, you are exactly that. This has been an epic 90 minutes, and I'm so glad to meet the real Ali Williams.
Cool.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gents.
Cheers.